Okay, so I'm gonna teach you as much as I can about content real quick because I'm in content mode because I'm scripting my videos, right? It's gonna be two parts, right? Number one is going to be market research on what to actually look out for. Number two is how you use that data to create your content, right? Starting off with market research, I have to give some context on why I do the things that I do, right? So my dad's an engineer, right? Really, I want to say, well, actually, I would say big time. So he really successful engineer. Started his own consulting firm. My dad is literally a millionaire, right? He just travels, right, all the time, never at home, right? Uh, I only bring that into context to let you understand that my dad is a very, very intelligent man, right? So one of the things he taught me growing up is he taught me that um, you should never look at the end result of something. You should always look at the things that are being combined to make that end result. And just the exact example that he gave me. He said, take a pen for example, right? 99% of people, and this does have context when it comes to content. Just give me a second to get there, right? So 99% of people, right, look at the pen in its entirety, right? What you want to train yourself to do is look at the components that are being combined to make the pen. And he said, there's a number one, there's a spring inside the pen that allows it to spring like this, right? There's this eraser, there's the metal, there's the ink, right? That's in here. So all of this, these little things are being combined to make this bigger thing, right? Even like in a math equation, because he also related it back to math, right? So 2 plus 2 equals 4. 99% of people look at 4. What you need to train your brain to do is look at what is the two variables that are being combined in order to make the 4, right? This is how it connects it to content, right? Successful content, right, works the same way. Most people look at successful content, right, and they're like, oh, this is an amazing piece of content, and they're looking at the end results, right? I found success, quote unquote, right, at a rapid rate, quote unquote, right, because instead of focusing on the end results, I try to figure out, okay, what are the mechanics that are being put together in order to produce uh, that end result. Now, these are the mechanics that I found so far that are essentially being combined to make the pen, so to speak, right? Don't share this with anyone. This is secret military grade sauce right here, right? Number one, you've probably heard this a million times, right? Go to your top competitors, um, look at their best performing videos, and just copy that, right? So that's only a half truth, right? What they're talking about is outliers. You want to emulate outliers, right? But the thing is, there are different video formats. Let me explain. And I'm just going to stick with educational formats to speak, right? There's talking head educational format, then there's talking head in Miro, and there's talking head in whiteboard, right? Then there's talking head with B-roll. So all of those have the purpose of educating the viewer, right? But they are formatted differently. Now the thing is, different formats perform differently, right? So you might have a format that averages 10,000 views, right? And then you might have a format that averages 100,000 views, right? Now, let's say you have those two formats. One's averaging 10,000 views and then one's averaging 100,000 views, right? Let's say you make a post on both of them, right? So the format, you make a post in the format that typically averages 10,000 views and it gets 100,000 views. It's a 10x multiplier, right? Now, let's say you make a format in a video that typically averages 100,000 views and it gets 300,000 views. That is a 3x multiplier, right? By the logic of what most people tell you, right? They tell you, okay, this format, this video has more views because it has 300,000 views, right? So you study this one. But that literally makes no sense when you understand that different formats perform differently, right? Because on one end, you have one format that yes, it has 100,000 views, but it's performing 10 times better than its average. Versus this format that yes, it has 300,000 views, but it's only performing 3 times better than its average, right? So what I do is when I'm comparing outliers, right, I compare average views from posts using the same format. You have to compare format to format, right? Another example is like, let's say you're at a grocery store and there's fucking fruit, there's a whole bunch of fucking fruit, right? Let's say you have a whole bunch of apples and a whole bunch of grapes, right? You take a bite of like two or three apples, they're like decent, right? And then you take a bite of one fucking amazing apple, right? It's fucking amazing, right? What fucking sense does it make to compare that amazing apple to a fucking pear? What fucking sense does it what fucking sense does it make to compare an amazing apple to like a fucking grape? No, you compare apples to apples, grapes to grapes, pears to pears. That's why you compare formats to formats, formats to formats, and formats to formats. So number one, stop comparing, intertwining different formats together, right? Second component is at the same time because creators fluctuate, right? So if I'm looking at formats from a year ago, I would only compare that format from around that same time frame because it makes no sense to compare a format that was being used a year ago to a format that's being used today, right? Because the creator could have changed a lot, right? He could have gotten a new editor, a better editing. He could have gotten worse, right? So you want to keep the time frame condensed. So that's the first thing, right? Everything else should be a lot faster to go through. So next up is awareness level. So where is my flywheel? Awareness level, simple marketing principles. You probably know more about this than I do. So just asking myself, okay, is this targeting an unaware market, problem aware market, solution aware market, product aware market, most aware market, or is this just a converting piece of content here? Is he just trying to convert, right? Then format, right? So I mark down the format. Then I look at the hook. I literally write down a hook, and then I look at the keywords of the hook. So keywords to me means strings of words that induce emotion within the audience, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all content is just trying to induce emotion within somebody else, right? Then it's key visuals, which is the same thing, but from a visual standpoint. Key sounds, same thing, but from an auditory standpoint. And then purple cow, right? So when you compare a lot of formats together, you'll realize that most of them have the same cadence. They flow the same. They all look the same, right? But then you'll find a piece of content in that same format that just has a special element to it, right? Perfect example is Nick Setting and his Miro boards, right? So everybody does fucking Miro boards, which is why I don't do them, right? So everybody does Miro boards, right? But when you look at Nick Setting's Miro boards, it's the same format, but the purple cow is the complexity of the fucking structure or the shit that he's showing. It's super complex when it really doesn't fucking need to be. That's how I can now compare that because again it's the same format, right? Um, talking head Miro board, but compare like that to a regular talking head Miro board. The Nick Settings looks a lot more complex, and that just catches attention, right? So these are the mechanics, and what you do is you literally sit here and you study 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 for what's working for other people, what words are they using to be able to attract an to be able to what's it called um, speak to their audience properly, right? And then what you do after you do enough studying, you'll have enough information to run tests. And this is where we can get into part two. All right. So part one was market research. Part two was implementation. Right. And then you run tests. Right. So first post ever was August 17th, 2025. I don't. Yep. So first video I swiped right and re-implemented was this video right here, and I wrote down a script and I just wrote my original script off of that. Right. And it, it took me like a couple of days to get really dialed in. But then once I got really dialed in, this is what I started doing, right? I put the original, right? Still wrote down the script. And what I would do is I would write my own information, right, for the body, which is why you see the body here. And then I would run tests on the hook, right? And you can see right here, right? So I would write the original, like literally verbatim, copy the hook, right? I would copy the hook, and then I would make two alterations to the hook, and I would just run tests in my trial rules, right? And then I would mark a winner, and then it's just an iterative process until I learn how to like actually make fucking hooks, right? And after you do that enough, right, you kind of like develop like an eighth sense, right? After you develop that eighth sense, that's when content really gets super easy. I don't really have to do that much in depth, do this section anymore because I got really good. And then what you have is that you'll get formats that you can see perform for you pretty well. And then what you do is you templatize them, right? So you can just quickly spit them out. Like these are the formats that I found that work well for me. And the two that I'm going in on right now are comparison. You know this. Comparing coaches and theories for that. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Super templatized, so I can just plug and play. Right? And then door. Right? Different level of color explaining how to blah blah blah. Character one, character like you know that, right? But this is when it gets good, right? After you have templatized your stuff, right? This is what you do. So this is a three pillar theory, right? This is not original. This is from Alex Hormozi, right? So, and he was talking about it in terms of sales, but I connected it to content, right? So there are three things that your ideal prospect needs in order to succeed, right? And because we are trying to use content to get money in our fucking pocket, we need to be able to solve these problems for them, right? I don't think that I tell you that, but they need all three. They need it, right? Because you have to look at it like a stool with three legs, right? If you have one leg, you're gonna fall and bust your ass, right? If you have two legs, you're gonna balance for a little bit, then you're gonna fall and bust your ass, right? You only stand firm on the stool when all three legs are there. So what you do is you figure out what are the three legs that my stool needs to stand on, which are long way to say content pillars. What are my three content pillars, right? I have client acquisition, client nurturing, client conversion, and I have everything that I see that doesn't fit in there, right? And this is so important because it literally makes your job 1,000 times easy. And now I'll show you like how I fucking script videos. Like I am so systematized that it's like it's so fucking simple, right? This kind of like the what these checks mean. So scripted and recorded, scripted, blah 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 blah, right? So these videos are in the middle of being scripted, right? So I'll show you an example. This right here should be, yep, this is a comparing video, right? So what I do is I literally paste in the format, then I paste in one of the things, like one of the points in my three pillars, right? Literally. I don't even think about it. That's template. Three pillars, right? I let it go here. I'm like, barely any thought. Copy. And then I go back. I actually don't go back. I have two windows open, so it's just a little bit more efficient, right? And I literally do this. Boom, right? And then after I do that for every single one that I'm trying to make, right? You can see don't let people off the hook, different type of funnel formats, right? Now I go back, and this is what it looks like for actually I'm working on that one. Is it this one? No, it's the next one. This is what it looks like for the door format, right? So I literally just put the value up here because it's just one content pillar being expounded on five people, right? After I do that, I just go back and I start filling in the information. All right, so value ads versus organic, so door format, and I just fill in the information. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Actually, I finished this one, so I can put a check right there. Give me 1 second. Sorry if I'm spazzing right now. I've been working for 5 hours now. I'm off of fucking caffeine. There's caffeine flowing through my veins, and I fucking love it. I'm off of fucking bean right now. Value. Do not lay off the people off the hook, and I just plug in the information, right? So if done correctly, it just becomes so fucking easy. Like the concept of like the comparison videos is like you expound on one topic in each of the pillars, right? And the concept of the dual format is you expound one topic in one pillar to its highest level, right? So that's what you can see right here. Let me give you an example. This one is ads versus organic, right? This is going to be expounded to its highest level, right? You should never run ads. Free is the only thing for me. You should never go organic. If you ain't paying, you ain't slaying. I'm fucking retarded. My bad idea. Holy shit. Most of your traffic needs to come from paid, but sprinkle in some organic for nurturing. Character 4. The split needs to be 75 organic, 25 paid. Use your organic to take prospect from unaware to product aware. And this is in relation to the audience awareness levels, right? Then use paid to take them to ready to buy. This is what Brez does, and that's how he makes millions from his mentorship. But the majority of his audience doesn't even know he has one, right? Because for some, like, it's fucking weird. Most people don't know that he has a mentorship. It's fucking spez. So that's like an example of one idea being expounded over one format. But let's say I wanted to work on this next, which I am, right? Content pillars, right? I could literally just come in here. Oh, I don't know what content pillars are. Blah 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 blah. Right? I only have one content pillar, which is lifestyle content. Boom. Uh, I different use four different content pillars, which are value, lifestyle. You kind of get the point. It becomes so easy when you've done the market research and you found like a format that works for you, right? And then you say you templatize it so you can just spit out content, right? Because it's all about distribution, right? Content. When people struggle with content, number one is a format problem, and then secondly, it's a distribution problem. It's too much of a fucking mental bottleneck to get them to start doing content. But when it's fucking easy peasy like this, like shit, I can just spit this out like on a daily basis. Yeah. Hope this helps. I hope I didn't spaz out too much because, like I said, I'm off of like four, maybe 600 milligrams of caffeine right now, so I'm fucking hyper and I'm crushing just deep work right now. So yeah, if something didn't make sense or I spazzed out too much, just let me know. I'll fucking go more in depth about a specific topic. But yeah, thank you again for your help. I hope that this helps you just a little bit because, like I said, I'm just trying to help you as much as you've helped me so far.